You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you?
It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, isn't it?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities, Wednesday, August 5th. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you are and however you're taking part in the program today. We definitely do appreciate it. A rainy rainy Wednesday here in the Quad Cities, I think around the state of Iowa as well, heading into Illinois. So one of those hump days where you just like to take a nap and maybe go back to bed. So instead of doing that, you're at work, wherever you're at, we'll get you through your Wednesday. We'll get you over the hump for the week and get you closer to the weekend with another fun show right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Also, with the storms, we're hoping that it doesn't get too stormy because sometimes technology isn't my best of friends, but I think we'll be good. And then I may take a nap this afternoon. Who knows? Anyways, a lot to get to on today's show. Coming up in a little bit, we have a full lineup to get to. Before that, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. If you're watching us live, that's even better. Make sure you're subscribing, getting into and taking part in the YouTube chat that we have going on each and every day. And also tell a friend or two or 10 about what we're doing each and every weekday right here in the Quad Cities Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Also, we are live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. So if you're watching us on X, we appreciate that as well. We are streaming on the WHO streaming app up in the central Iowa area. We appreciate that. We love that. We've been doing that for nearly a year. First hour of the show is live right now, and then of course the second hour of the show, if you want to keep watching, and we'd love it if you do, head on over to YouTube, X, anywhere else you can check out the show as well. And last but certainly not least, if you want to listen to the show, you can do that on any podcasting platform as well. We're available on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Podbean, you name it. Put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Listen to the show when you're cutting grass today, running your kids around, working out, whatever you're doing. Put on OTA. Check out today's show and the other shows from this week as well. Coming up on today's show, it was an interesting summer for sports radio in the central Iowa area. For radio here in the state of Iowa and the Quad Cities as well. Things are much better when it comes to finding a new home and a way to talk sports in central Iowa for a lot of people, including Trent Condon. Trent, fantastic friend who once they got laid off, but lost his job this year, or his home, I guess, his platform for his show is the best way to put it, KXNO in Des Moines. He is back at it, several platforms, including the Rush Radio Network. We're going to talk with Trent Condon coming up in just a little bit about the interesting summer, his new home there, how you can listen to his show, and then, of course, talk a bunch of Iowa football. As training camp is officially underway, and we're getting closer and closer to the start of the college football season. 1 month from today, September 5th, the Iowa Hawkeyes kick off at Kinnick Stadium. So it will be here before you know it. Trent Condon coming up in just a little bit. We're going to continue our high school football previews. We're 2 weeks away from the high school football season in the state of Iowa, the state of Illinois. August 21st is the first week in Illinois. It's week 0 in Iowa. Practices kick off this morning and today for high schools in Illinois. We'll continue our high school football previews with Rock Island head coach Anthony Roome taking over Rock Island after being an assistant at so many different schools in the Western Big Six, at United Township, at Moline. He worked with, he was a Geneseo grad and played for Coach Johnson. So I think coached there a little bit too. So we'll catch up with Anthony Roome and continue our football previews coming up in just a little bit as well. And also it's Wednesday, which means it's our FCA Story of the Week. Dan Pearson will be along with that as well. So a lot to get to on today's show, and news and notes throughout the day, whatever else comes up, because as you know, everything is busy in the world of sports, baseball, football, off the field stuff, on the field stuff. So who knows what happens during these 90 minutes to an hour that we're with you each and every day right here in the Quad Cities. I want to get caught up on some things that we did this week as well. If you missed Monday's show, Scott Docterman was on. Nate Gilbreth was on, and Greg Armstrong from View from the West. So check out Monday's show if you missed it. On Tuesday, yesterday's show, Iowa all-time leading scorer Luka Garza. He's having a camp coming up, the Luka Garza Academy. It's August 17th and August 19th in Fayette and in Indianola. We talked about the camps. Go to lukagarzaacademy.com if you want to get signed up, and you should want to get signed up. Also talked about his fantastic breakthrough season with Boston and a whole bunch more, Iowa basketball and everything in between. So check out our interview with Luka Garza yesterday. Tom Kakert helped me with that as well. Also, Nick Welch and a United Township preview is from yesterday. And I thought this was really cool. Macy Beinborn, a former Pleasant Valley and Augustana standout, 25 years old, and she's taking over the program at Bettendorf as the girls basketball coach. She will do an awesome job. Her dad, of course, is the head women's coach at Augustana, Mark Beinborn, and Macy will do an awesome job. Great conversation with her yesterday. Go check that out as well. Some news and notes before we get rocking and rolling into a busy show, and some bad news if you're an Illini basketball fan, but it's not as bad as it probably could have been. Illinois forward David Merkovic underwent successful surgery after injuring his foot in practice. Successful surgery. He was such an impact last year. 6'9" forward, averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds a game. Played great in the postseason as well. And obviously with Wagler in the NBA, Merkovic is one of those guys that is expected to maybe even be the face of Illinois basketball this year, and maybe a first-round pick / lottery pick next year. So good news is he's only out. What they're saying is 6 to 8 weeks, maybe a little longer. We're 12 weeks away from the start of college basketball season. I think practice starts in 45 days. So plenty of time for him to get healthy. Obviously not ideal. You'd much rather have him in workouts and when practice starts and those type of things. But doesn't look like he'll miss any time this season, which is a very good thing for Illinois basketball, who will have extremely high expectations coming into next season. I've seen him ranked as high as 1, 2, or 3 in the country when it comes to what Illinois basketball could be this season. So we will. I think it was a dodged bullet, if you will. We talked yesterday about Kobe Bryant and the Bears. A lot of people thought he'd be out for the entire season. The good news for him is he's only out, I think it was 8 to 10 weeks, maybe misses 2 to 4 games this year. Much better than what could have been. Better news for Merkovic. He could be back, should be back before the start of the season. Speaking of those Bears, better news, contract news. The Bears and their all-pro offensive tackle, Darnell Wright, have come to an agreement, making him the highest paid right tackle in the NFL. He's going to make $29 million a year. 4-year, $116 million contract, $93 million of that guaranteed. I will say this. I think he is the best draft pick of the Poles era, of the Ryan Poles era. I think that if you look at it, obviously you're going to pick Caleb Williams, so people can say the number 1 pick of the draft and the quarterback was the best pick. But that was, I would have done that probably, maybe not, but probably most people would have. And I would say that last year's draft and into this year's draft is yes, it's his, but it's also Ben Johnson. So I remember when Darnell Wright was drafted and people were like, is that, it's not a fun pick. It's not a exciting, oh boy, we got a right tackle or a left tackle, but it was so important with what the Bears needed to do and build from the trenches. And he's been really good. Probably the second best tackle in the division. Of course, Penei Sewell's better, but really good football player. So the Bears get him locked up, another young piece locked up for the Chicago Bears for now and the immediate future as well. So good news out of Bears camp if you're a Bears fan when it comes to Darnell Wright getting a whole bunch of money, and rightfully so. The good news if you're a Cub fan, Cubs win 5-1 last night against the Dodgers. They beat Tarek Skubal. So the Cubs 2 straight victories over the Dodgers. I think plenty of momentum after the trade deadline and the improvements they made, and some of those new pieces were shown last night and looked really, really good. So Cubs win once again. They're 5.5 back in the division, obviously entrenched in the wild card. Right now they're the number 1 wild card, but it'll be interesting to see if they can get to, if they catch the Brewers, they're probably one of the top 2 teams and they get that bye. So that's a lot. I know it's August and there's still 5.5 games to get to, but Cubs playing some good baseball on the north side of Chicago. They'll play the Dodgers again tonight, so we'll keep an eye on the Cubs. I think it's tonight. Let's do a little looking as I can look on my computer and find out. I believe it's a tonight. Yeah, no, actually a 1:20 game today. That's fantastic. What a great, hopefully it's not raining in Chicago, because I loved growing up and having a rainy summer day and still having Cubs baseball on in the afternoon, and you could sit inside, watch the Cubs. Of course, you have to, a lot of times if it's raining here, it's probably going to be raining here pretty soon in Chicago, but that gives us something to watch, if you will, coming up this afternoon as well. Until then, we got plenty to talk about here and Off There with Matt Randazzo, and we'll start by talking some Hawkeye athletics and a whole bunch more. A little Hawkeye football right now on OTA. So joining us now, a familiar face in Central Iowa. More importantly, a familiar voice in Central Iowa. Trent Condon joining us right now on Off There with Matt Randazzo. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Kicking off the new show this week on the radio side of things. So very busy time as getting back into the swing of things. And I guess if you're ever going to take or forced to take a month off, probably the month of July for what we do in the world of sports talk radio in the state of Iowa, probably the best time actually to be stepping away.
Amen to that, brother. I was so excited. Like, everyone was like, why are you so excited for August to get here? I'm like, business picks up a little bit. Life is much better, and it's easier to fill 2 hours a day, which, you know, as you mentioned, you were in KXNO. iHeart was silly and did some dumb things, and it's awesome where you guys have landed. Kind of tell people, you know, where you guys are at now before we talk some Iowa athletics with you. The new show started this week, and it's a great home and a great new place for you guys to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So joined up with Ross Peterson and Travis Justice, who also were former personalities over at KXNO. They created a network here about a year and a half ago. It's called the Rush Radio Network. And what it is though it is on a streaming platform each and every day for those guys, they do the morning show from 6 until 8, along with Sean and Lucas, who are our afternoon hosts on KXNO, who do 4 until 6. It also is something that is each and every day. At the same time, you know they're going to be there. They're going to be live, very interactive. So it's much like the radio part of it. And, you know, that was the part that really appealed to me. I thought that was something that was really important to me. And then on top of it, because I'm an old radio guy, I couldn't give up the radio as well. So I'm also on the ESPN affiliate in Des Moines on 102.1 FM, ESPN Des Moines. So got kind of both components, the new world of streaming and video and short clips and all of that with the guys with the Rush Radio Network, and then still staying old school with the radio side with 102.1 ESPN Des Moines. So doing a little bit of everything over there and keeping it alive. I've got my high school sports coming up. I'll be doing my game of the week every week, both on the radio and video streaming on that. So a lot going on, very busy time, but happy how it all turned out.
No, it's so much fun to be able to be. I tell people all the time, the old platforms and the new platforms just make for one big platform, and we'll be able to do a bunch of fun stuff with. I want to talk Iowa athletics with you, but real quick as well, not to dwell on the past, but with all the craziness that went on, you received a lot of support. What did that mean to hear from, you know, listeners, fans, if you call people that listen to what we do fans, which I take very lightly. I like listeners as well, better than fans, but you know what I mean. Fellow colleagues, those type of things. It was a trying summer for radio around the state, even here in the Quad Cities, obviously, as well. We had Mark Manuel on talking about it here in our area. What did it mean to get the feedback, I guess, that you guys received?
It's always nice. I think any of us that do this in its realm, you have a certain amount that you like to hear those kind of things, and you don't. You know, you go throughout the course of the day, and you're out there, and you're working, and you're grinding, and doing those kind of things. And there was a part of it like, okay, yeah, people still like me. People still want to hear me and get my opinion. So that is something that definitely was positive, and the positivity that came along with it. You know, when you continue to hear and see the comments, and they're 98% positive. I mean, in today's environment, that's pretty incredible in its own right to get something like that. So it was a nice jolt. It was also a jolt to keep going, keep pushing, keep finding what is out there. And as you know, Dazzo, there's one thing. Once you get into this business, and it doesn't matter what realm it is always very difficult to give up that microphone.
No, absolutely. And it's one of those things, too, where you enjoy doing what you get to do. I know that I say it all the time, and I know you probably agree. We don't really work for a living. I remember my son had his appendix out earlier this summer, and like just listening to the doctor. Now, mind you, we're not doctors by any stretch, and not a lot of people are, but like some people do actual really hard, impressive work each and every day. We get up, find a microphone, and talk about sports. It's a pretty beautiful thing that we get to do. All the things you mentioned, you didn't even mention the sports gambling show on MC22, and also the Locked On Hawkeyes. Obviously, Iowa athletics, the football season's right on the corner. You had an eye, I'm sure, on media days in Iowa City, or excuse me, in Chicago last week. Did anything pop out to you when it came to the storylines out of media day when it came to Iowa football?
You know, I think the Tony Diaz hype was the one thing, and it was not quite a walkaway comment, but when Kirk Ferentz, who is not one that throws around praise, and certainly for new players, regardless, freshmen, transfers, you don't see that very often. When he's throwing out, Bob Sanders likes to hit you, Marshall Yanda want to block you, and Tony Diaz, he wants to catch passes. When he's putting a guy like that with a very little resume, does not have the same kind of sweat equity that we see from other players inside the program, that perked me up even more. I was already on the hype train. I was not going to slow down. I was ready. I was fired up. I was ready to be heard again with Tony Diaz in the wide receiver position for Iowa. But then when I hear Kirk Ferentz say something like that, it revs me up even more, where I think this is going to be a guy that is just different than what we've seen. Now, is he going to be able to hold up with Tony Diaz? We'll still see. Got banged up during spring. He was little when he came in. I think Tim Lester mentioned in an interview this summer that he was a guy that weighed 158 pounds, something like that, when he showed up. Well, he's up to 180 now. Okay, that's a good step, but still the rigors of the Big Ten, a little bit different than whatever Rio Grande Valley played a season ago and going through that. But if he can, boy, it really does feel like he is special, and he's something different than what they've had a wide receiver in a long time.
It's funny. I put on 22 pounds, and nobody gives me credit. Other people put on 22 pounds, and it's a beautiful thing. You mentioned Kirk said that. I talked with Scott Dochterman on the show on Monday, and we talked about, how Kirk is these days. And it's not like he's not just a riverboat gambler, or like he's not just saying things to say things. He's got controlled. Right. He's not just saying things for fun, but for half him, it meant more than why would Kirk do that? I mean, it's almost like he must have a ton of confidence in this kid, because if there's somebody who's going to pump the brakes on hype, it's Kirk Ferentz for the last 25, 26 years.
Well, and a lot of times when questions like that come up, I've asked him, you've asked him, Dazzo, that he's going to deflect. He's going to talk about other guys. He's going to talk about the veterans that have been there and been putting in the work. That's what he normally does, and that's not what he did here. I think that we can read between the lines with Kirk Ferentz. So when you've been listening for a guy for 28 years, you get to know all the different mannerisms, all the different tricks that he likes to use, all those different things. You have to dig a little bit deeper to understand maybe what he's getting to. And that's why I just think that this is real, that this is something that is different than some of the hype guys we had. You go back a couple of years ago when Caleb Brown came in from Ohio State. I bought that one hook, line, and sinker. The Wilson kid who had that huge game over here at Valley High School, one of the open practices that they had probably a decade ago at wide receiver. I don't think he even made it to campus by the time we got to fall practice that year. Just there's so many of those stories that are out there, and this one does feel different. So I'm going to buy in right there. I thought that was absolutely huge. And another thing when he talked about the offensive line, I believed that they were going to be good this year. Are they going to win the Joe Moore Award for the second consecutive year? No. But you can tell that there's some confidence of what they have up front. Now they just got to figure out the center. And then I go back from feeling very confident. And when Kirk said that, he was talking about, well, maybe it's going to be Cale Winter. We'll see. We'll see if it's Cade Pieper, who I think everybody anticipated was going to take over the role. Because as we know, at that center position, Logan Jones was not good his first year. There were major struggles there. And it wasn't just the snap issues that were easy for the casuals like you and I to be able to see. But you could see that there were some deficiencies, even as physically as talented as he was. That kind of makes me wonder about Cade Pieper. We know it's not a physical thing. The guy is an absolutely physical specimen, but the other intricacies of the center position, and if that takes a while, that's not good, because we know how difficult Big Ten play is. They need everything clicking there. So that was another one that stood out to me. The offensive line, I think he feels confident, but got to figure out that center position.
You look at these weapons, and we mentioned Diaz. I like Reese Vanderzee a ton. Vaname, and I'm excited to see what Addison Ostrenga does again. He's an amazing young man, so getting him healthy, and that entire tight end room. So there's all these parts, and the running backs, and we mentioned tight end or the offensive line. Maybe besides one question mark, obviously it's going to be really good. Who the hell's going to get him the football? That's the number one question. I know we don't know, but you don't. I should hype it like this. Trent Condon has an answer, and he's going to share it with us right now on OTA. Who's taking the first snap of the season on September 5th at Kinnick Stadium?
I want to maybe phrase it this way. This is what Kirk Ferentz should do. This is what Tim Lester should do. And it's not because Trent Condon knows more football than them, because that's idiotic, and we know that's not the case. This is what I believe he should do if it's about all of us watching the betterment. We're not there. We're not at practice. They will determine that. But if this was me, because of what happened in the Indiana game, and we saw Hank Brown miss the screen pass. We've talked about it a ton, Dazzo, throughout the last year or so. Now, missing that screen pass is put together. There's a lot of scar tissue there that he needs to break through for Iowa fans. And if we see Hank Brown become the starter and he struggles, he doesn't play that well, even if they get through the non-conference 3-0, they get a decent win against Iowa State, even a blowout. If he's the starter, everybody's just going to be waiting. Everybody is going to be waiting for that bad moment, that bad play, and then the frustration is going to come roaring out. Because of that, that's still lingering in the minds of so many Hawkeye fans. That's going to be there. If it was up to me, and all things are even between the two, it's incredibly tight, I would go with Jeremy Hecklinski for that reason. Because of Jeremy Hecklinski, if we can see, look, he's struggling. It's not working. It's difficult for a 5'10 quarterback that is not an uber athlete to be able to compete in the Big Ten. If we can see that, then I think it makes him more palpable for just the fan base as a whole and us watching to say, all right, it is Hank Brown. Give him a shot. See what he can do. If it goes vice versa, I just think you're setting yourself for ugliness. I mean, we go back all the way to 2001 as I'm sitting in the student section and the boo birds raining down as Kyle McCann comes trotting on the field against Michigan in the Marquise Walker game. I mean, that thing, we know what can happen inside of Kinnick Stadium. We know how ugly things can be, and specifically at the quarterback position. So for the betterment of the program, if all things are equal, that's the way that I would lean. Hecklinski gets to start, Brown the backup, just because of what we saw against Indiana.
It's amazing. Iowa football and any fan base, the backup quarterback sometimes is the best, most popular guy on the campus. But you mentioned, like, seeing is believing for all fans, not just Iowa fans. And the only thing we've seen really from any of these two guys, and we can kids days or spring practices, whatever, forget about those. The only things that we've seen, the only thing we saw was the missed screen pass in a very difficult situation. How much does that dictate? Here's what we know. He missed the screen pass, which is one play. And by the end of the season, if anything happened with Mark Gronowski, on the depth chart that came out every week, Jeremy Hecklinski had moved into the backup quarterback position during the year. How much does that one play almost set the narrative for what Hawkeye fans think right now?
I think it's huge. I know that every single person that I talk to and talk about the quarterback race and kind of give my thoughts, it comes up at some point. And, the other weird component about that, it's so un-Iowa football-like. In the week leading into then the Wisconsin game, remember after the Indiana game, they had the bye week. Gronowski goes down. There was a long time it looked like Gronowski was not going to be able to go. And during that time, we see Hecklinski take over as the backup, even on the depth chart. If it happened internally, okay, we would never have found out about it. But secondly, I guess you could understand that a little bit more. But for it to actually come out on the depth chart that they release each and every week, I was completely befuddled by that and absolutely shocked. And that's just the weird component. I mean, you talk about some of the weirder on-field things or behind-the-scenes things, I guess more in that realm. That is one of them. For a guy at the quarterback position, Kirk hates changing quarterbacks. Yet to change the backup quarterback, I thought that was absolutely baffling there. Maybe we can read in a little bit more about the reasoning behind that and the way that played out. But it is crazy to think back, too. If Gronowski was not able to go against Wisconsin, it would have been Jeremy Hecklinski that would have got the ball.
No, absolutely. Trent Condon joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A few more for you before I let you go. You mentioned the fact that we talk Iowa football most every day, and somebody recently put on our chat like, "Hey, it doesn't matter because it's going to be run, screen, pass, punt, or whatever it is." And I wanted to be like, no, that's you're thinking about an older offensive coordinator. Not what Tim Lester has done. And then I asked Doc on Monday, I said, is this really like if Kirk gets to decide it's Hank, if Jeremy Hecklinski is the guy, it's probably Tim Lester. And Doc was adamant that, like, obviously Kirk has a say, but Tim Lester is driving the boat right now about what this offense is supposed to look like and wants to look like. And I know Iowa offense has that reputation to them, but it's gotten better the last couple of years. Kind of your thoughts on that? I feel like it's a Tim Lester decision on what he wants to moving forward, but it's still Kirk, and Kirk is Kirk. Your thoughts on who's making these type of decisions?
Yeah, I think it is still Lester. And I think there are components and certainly the in-game decisions and when to make the pull and those kind of things. But I also think that there is a level of respect that you see with Kirk Ferentz and Tim Lester. For Kirk Ferentz in you're going into year 26 to do something much different offensively than what he's done before, and to upset what has been a lot of success and a lot of victories and do something different and bringing in the Shanahan offense. I think that also says about the way that Kirk Ferentz thinks about Tim Lester and the way that he does things and run things. And I think that there is that true belief. Was it ever there at that level? When it's your son, I mean, it's difficult, right? To have that still, I'm still dad. I still got the pull here. You still have that. Go back to Greg Davis, a marriage that just never worked. And though there was obviously respect and you wouldn't have hired him if there wasn't, I think it is different here with Tim Lester. The way that he has, in a way, fixed what they do in the run game, and though they've had successes, it was not the successes probably they should with the offensive lines and the running backs that they've had over the last 12 years. Probably should have even been better at times of what they had in the run game. And that looks to be completely fixed. Now, Caleb Johnson was a big part of that 2 years ago in year number 1 of Lester, but you saw it again last year. And I think there's another step that they're going to take there. So, yeah, I do think it's ultimately Tim Lester. And here's my hope, because I've said this before, Dazzo, in a way, Kirk Ferentz's brain is broke when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, we've just seen so many times where he's easily will make a move at all these other positions, and it doesn't matter. You're not competing. Marshall Meter coming in and kicking the field goal against Nebraska. I bring that up all the time. A guy that had never kicked a field goal before, he comes in and kicks a game winner a couple of years ago. But quarterback, for whatever reason, has not been the case. Maybe Tim Lester is finally the guy that can push him, and if they need to make a change, they can do it a little quicker.
Trent Condon, join us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Before I let you go, the coaches poll was released, and I got to ask your thoughts and opinions, and also maybe give you a chance to let your arms rest a little bit. He's the technology wasn't doing as what we should have been doing, so I'll give you a chance to rest those arms a little bit too. The coaches poll up on the screen here. Iowa checks in at 22. I guess we'll start with Iowa. I think they're a top 25 football team. I don't know if they're a top 15 football team right now because of the quarterback situation. I thought 22 made sense. Your thoughts when you see it come out, you see Iowa ranked 22 in the preseason poll?
You know, honestly, for me, I think it's a little bit high. I would not have them as a top 25 team right now. And it's really has nothing to do with the quarterback position at all. It's because, and Iowa is the only program that has an unsettled quarterback position. I think Iowa could be one of 2 or 3 teams that actually has a competition going into August camp for the quarterback spot. So that is completely different. But it's just because there's so many other questions, specifically about the defense and the special teams. We know how Iowa has won games almost every single year during the Kirk Ferentz era. And it hasn't been always with the offense, it has been with the defense and the special teams. When you're replacing everybody at the special teams level and you couple it with what they're doing with your specialist there, and you're also replacing your coordinator. And then you go on the defensive side, the huge question marks that they have up front. Both defensive tackle, the biggest question, but even defensive end, that's a huge one. You look at, all right, you're replacing your middle linebacker now, even with the guy with experience, you're going out there and it's going to be Cam Buffington. There's new faces in the defensive backfield. With those kind of questions that are facing this Iowa team, it was one thing if we were talking about the offense, because look, they've won games with crappy quarterback play. They have not done it with crappy defense or crappy special teams. That would be my concern and why I wouldn't say I was a top 25 team right now.
I will say that Kirk talking in Chicago, I mean, there was I don't want to say concern, but the defensive line is a question mark, obviously. And it's something that's got to get addressed and figured out. I also will say that if Iowa fans' concern is defense, and there's been, I think last year coming into the season, there was wondering and questions on that side of the football. Phil Parker will probably figure that out, and the special teams too, a completely new look player-wise on special teams as well. I look at this, Trent, I'm like, man, does Iowa go at 16 at home against 1 and at 19? Like, I know that, like, we've talked about those 3 games so much, and it's not as cut as dry as, like, those 3 games are a huge part of the season. But, man, everything keeps circling back to first 3 games, very winnable, next 3, wow, and then the Big Ten West almost after that. Does that jump? I mean, you look at it, and the Big Ten obviously well represented at 1, at 2, at 6. I'm missing some as I go along at 14, 16, 17, 9. I mean, obviously all over the place. But man, at 16, home against 1, and at 19 in what, 20 days, if that, is going to be something, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's going to be tight, wound together, and I still maintain, I said it ever since the schedule comes out. Everybody points to this 3-game stretch, and at minimum, you got to win 1 game. I think they got to go to Michigan and win. I cannot envision a scenario from what we've seen historically from Iowa. They're going to go out on a short week and beat Washington. I guess the one saving grace, and the one thing that maybe I've talked myself in circles, I hate them on the West Coast. I tried to tell our buddy Tom Kakert a couple of years ago against UCLA, they're going to lose. He called me crazy, and we saw what happened in that one. I think that the Michigan game is the most winnable of this group of 3. And the good thing is, though, it is a Friday night game. If Iowa loses to Michigan and Ohio State, Kirk Ferentz has been great in Friday games. We have seen that from the demolition and Spencer Petrus's crowning achievement of what he did against Maryland on that Friday night. Yeah. Of course, Black Friday against Nebraska, what they've done the last 11 years, winning 10 out of 11 against the Huskers. The short weeks overall, outside of that UCLA road trip, have been really good. So that is one thing that Kirk Ferentz, maybe in a way, even has an advantage, even with the road game, is they have been playing very well throughout the years in those short ones. Still, a road trip to the West Coast, got to beat Michigan. And Bryce Underwood, I'm not sure if it's all there for him. I think getting them early is better than getting them late. I kind of like the way that it sets up here. And hopefully, fingers crossed, a 4-0 start. Ohio State coming to town. Ooh. And I will tell you, I have heard Stanford Steve on podcasts and on SportsCenter 2 different times here during the offseason mention he wants to get to Kinnick. You want game day in Kinnick Stadium, beat the Wolverines. I believe they will be there, and Stanford Steve will get to come to Iowa City for the first time.
I love it. I was on a vacation in the Pacific Northwest, this and it's crazy. You wear anything Iowa anywhere you go, but like I'm out in the Pacific Northwest in the mountains, and there's like "Go Hawks" as we go by, and this one person came up and was like, "We're going up a mountain," and he's like, "Hey, we're hiking up it." I'm sweating my butt off. I'm old and fat, and he's like, "Hey, man, those Hawkeyes," and I'm like, "Yeah. Thanks, man. You a Hawkeye fan?" He goes, "No, we're from Rutgers." And we were so excited last year on Friday night when you guys came to town and you guys just kicked our butts. And he's like, "I love it." So it's crazy when you look at those things. Also, I want Iowa to beat Washington out west just so Tom Kakert shuts the hell up about the stupid West Coast stuff. I understand it. I get it. But it's not like they play there all the time. It's such a cherry-picked thing because they don't play out there very often. So I want them to beat Washington so Tommy shuts up about that thing. But he's
that game 1. And at the half, what were they, up 10, something like that? You knew they should have been up even more than that. We knew what inevitably was going to happen, and we saw what it did in the second half. There's too much history. And it's not going away because guess what? Next year, they're going out to Autzen Stadium to take on Oregon. And then the following year, it'll be a trip out, I believe, again to UCLA. And that will rotate through. They're going to have one of these every single year in this new Big Ten. So until they can change it, the narrative is going to be there. And, we'll hope that it changes this year. I'm definitely with you on that one, and a fun trip to Seattle.
It's the Lunch Rush with Trent Condon, 11-1 on the Rush Radio Network, also on the radio in the Des Moines area as well. Locked On Hawkeyes as well, Locked On Iowa, and Inside the Numbers. So much that he's doing. I appreciate your time. Always love talking Hawks with you. We'll catch up again soon, my friend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dazzo.
Awesome. That is Trent Condon joining us here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. The football season right around the corner. We're really excited about it. Don't forget, we're getting close. It's a week from Friday. So August 14th, we'll be live from Iowa Football Media Day, 2:30 to 4:30 right here on OTA. Excited about that as well. We got a lot more to get to. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coming up after the break, we'll continue our high school football previews with a stop of the Western Big Six and a great conversation with new Rock Island head coach Anthony Roome. That's next right here on OTA. Hawkeye fans, football season is quickly approaching, and only one place can get you game day ready. The Black and Gold Shop is your official retailer of Iowa athletics. The largest selection of Hawkeye apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more from top brands like Nike, Champion, and Under Armour. And your purchases directly help support Iowa athletics. So stop by one of their 3 great locations in the Quad Cities, Coralville, or West Des Moines. Or shop anytime at blackandgoldshop.com. The Black and Gold Shop, your official apparel provider of Iowa athletics. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
or electrical,
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. A big day around the Illinois Quad Cities, around the state of Illinois for high school football. It is the first day of high school football practice. Things a little earlier this year, of course, with the change in the calendar and, of course, the earlier start to the season on the Illinois side of the river. So we continue our high school football previews this morning. If you missed it, on Monday we talked with Nate Gilbreth over at Assumption. Yesterday we talked with United Township's Nick Welch, and today we'll head over to Rock Island and check in on the brand new head coach of the Rock Island Rocks. Anthony Roome joins us right now. Happy opening day. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and I watched the show yesterday. Anytime you put Coach Welch on, I got to watch and listen. And, I did think that you put it best. I sent a text to all of our coaches this morning, like, hey, it's Christmas Day. Like, the presents are under the tree. We made it through the summer, and it's here. We're finally to it.
I got to back up a second. You didn't just watch for Nick Welch, right? You watch every day. You watch every day. It just so happened that Nick was on, right?
Hey, and I gotta give you credit. When you have Pat on, I definitely gotta listen to what he has to say too. When he's sitting in his car doing the show with you, makes for an interesting show.
You never know what's going to come out of that man's mouth. That's for sure.
No.
Anthony Roome joined us, the new football coach at Rock Island High School. We're going to get to the important stuff in a second, but I like to introduce you as the captain of the 2026 Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing Championship team. Y'all came, not just played, but you won this summer. Congrats, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having us. I don't know how many people were happy that the Rock Island team won your outing. I didn't get a lot of cheers at that thing, but, and people were asking if I brought ringers, but, when you bring a couple guys who can hit the ball far, that kind of helps. So.
Yeah. No, it was a blast. I appreciate you coming out. And here's the beauty thing. I joked with you yesterday. The next 2 Sunday evenings, you're going to have to spend time with me. We're going to have the kickoff show for the View from the West coming up this Sunday. Again, a reminder, anybody out there want to come and listen to high school football talk, it's at the Other Bar in Moline starting at 4 o'clock. We're going to have a blast. And then the following Sunday is the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet. They're stuck with me emceeing that still. So you're my favorite guy in the entire conference. Like, Morrissey still can't stand my dead father. Like, it's disrespectful and awful that he can't show any respect to my father, my hero. I mean, he's only my hero. And then Welch didn't come this year. They had the Shrine Bowl, so I'll give him a little bit of a off the hook this year as well. But we did have a blast, and we appreciate that as well. More importantly, you are the head football coach at Rock Island. I know you hit the ground running. I remember when you took the job, we chatted right away. I don't want to say your head was spinning, but you were excited and you were getting rolling. If I went back to that day you took the job, and then I talked to you this morning, what have you learned the most in that small amount of time?
I think the thing that I've learned the most is that, that trust goes a long ways. Trusting staff, the staff that we have here is unbelievable. Whether it's the football staff, the school staff, from Mr. Emmendorfer to the principal, all super supportive and really get behind us. And then honestly, the one thing is just, I think head was spinning, how are the kids going to take how we implement our standard, how we go about our day-to-day business. And, that those type of nerves kind of added to the head spinning part of the process. But, once you learn to just trust the players as much as the staff and that they're buying in, like, that kind of took a lot of the nerves out of it. And then, kind of like you and I were talking, like, then the coaching side becomes easier. And, you get to do what you love day in and day out.
No, absolutely. I guess the question is, how have they taken to it? Obviously, everything's different when it comes to a change in coaching and a program as well. How have the kids adapted? How have they bought in, is maybe the best word, to what you want to do at Rock Island High School?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that we've really tried to push is just the leadership side of things, from the older kids especially, kids who have been a part of, the program the last 3-4 years. And, when I'm talking with people, like, I could list a ton of different names that have just been stepping up in every sort of different way, whether it's leading their position group, just being a quiet leader and showing up every day and doing the day in, day out work. And then there's some guys that have kind of risen to the top as far as, like, leading the team as a whole, and guys who bring the energy every single day. And that kind of helps our mindset of, going that 1-0 every day mentality, because really that's where we were at. When you're implementing 2 new systems, a new standard, the big picture stuff is kind of out the window. And having them buy in and focus on that day-to-day process has been huge.
You look at it, Anthony, and there's an excitement, I think, at Rock Island right now, and an energy, and you bring that, a younger coach energy. But, like, if you look, I'll go back to the Western Big Six the last decade, and it was first the knucklehead over at that good-looking guy at Moline, who you've worked under, that had that built an energy around the program. And then I don't think there's been a better example personally than what Nick has done over at United Township, a program that hadn't won in forever, and not just the winning, but the energy around it. Can you separate the two? Obviously, football is football, and that's what you got to coach, but you've got to bring an energy and an excitement to, hey, this is Rock Island football, and I can't miss out. Like, I want to be part of that. Have you kind of learned from those two knuckleheads when it comes to, I think, what you're doing right now at Rock Island when it comes to looking on social media and seeing the energy around the program?
Yeah, and, kind of jokingly, but seriously too, I got a young man who helps run, like, our social media page, and I told him, I was like, we need to put our stuff out there, so everyone can see what we're doing. Like, our kids on our team deserve for everyone to know what work they're putting in, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and he's done a great job of that, just helping facilitate that side of things. And I think the biggest thing, when I really look back at, like, what Coach Morrissey and Coach Welch have done, is the engagement with the community. Because as soon as you get a community behind your program, it's like it really takes off. That's really who kind of pushes your program. And, we've tried to do as much from volunteer work to our fundraisers to whatever it is, just getting out and saying like, we hit that rebirth stage. Like we're a new program. We started over, and this is who we are as a program. So, learning from those two was just how they operate on a day-to-day basis, but then kind of taking some of their big picture side of things to elevate their program from, like you said with Coach Welch, from a spot that was in a pretty low to now he's having a lot of success. So just trying to take those little tidbits from them and still talk to them on a frequent basis. So picking up little things as we go still.
I love it. Anthony Roome joining us over at Rock Island High School in OTA. Coach, you look at it and your staff is assembled. I think last time I talked to you, it was right after you were, I think you're just getting done having pizza and enjoying the new gig. The staff has come together nicely. It's some familiar faces that I think Rock Island people and Rock Island knows, and then a mix of some new faces, some energy as well. Talk about the staff and what you get. I've been watching on social media, and you've been introducing or reintroducing different coaches throughout the last week or two. How's the staff come together? And you mentioned they're important when it comes to delegating and getting everything you want to get done.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing that when putting together our staff is that we have a lot of teachers on our staff, which was like a big deal for us as a program, just as many people that we could get in the building as possible. Matthew McCarthy coached defensive backs at UT the last 4 years, I believe. So he's with me for 2, and he came over. He's going to call our defense. The energy he brings is, kind of unmatched. Like he really gets after it, and it's kind of a side of the ball now that, he can take care of and coach the coaches on his side of the ball. Like you said, a lot of familiar faces. I could go down our list, but a lot, Rock Island guys, Coach Nunn, Coach Rossler, both been around. Coach Smallbach is back with us, helping out as well. And, and Coach Justin Brandt is back at Rock Island. And even the guys who aren't teachers, they do teaching at their jobs. So, that was a big thing, for me. I think, Coach Harris is at the middle school, and he's the ultimate motivator. He's very good at motivating the young men around him. And then I'd be remiss to say, obviously, we kind of talked about your golf outing and your dad being your hero and stuff like that. But, like having my dad on staff, helping coach inside linebackers, like that's a big deal for me. It's kind of a comfort area. He'll send me a text every once in a while to either say, hey, get your butt in gear, or, hey, tone it back a little bit. The kids are doing really well. So, all the coaches on staff are just phenomenal teachers, phenomenal motivators. I couldn't ask more from them.
The program, it's been a build to get to this point. It's practice today. Not that you haven't been on the field and looking at what you have. What have you liked? What have you seen from this team on the field wise that you're going to like this year that are good foundational building blocks for what you guys want to do in the future?
Yeah, I think, when I've coached against Rock Island, I never got a chance to play against Rock Island, but obviously followed them closely. I think one of the things that I've liked is just the uptick in physicality. It was kind of always said, coaching against them, playing against them, hey, Rock Island's the most athletic team in the conference. They're the fastest team in the conference. Okay, like let's beat them with the physicality side of things then, if they're going to be the most athletic. And I really think that over the summer we kind of ramped up the physicality a little bit to see where we stood, and that's going to be our brand of football. We want to be physical, we want to be disciplined, we want to execute, but we also want to take advantage. We have some really athletic kids too, so we want to take advantage of that, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, just buying into the scheme. It's a new scheme, but just seeing kids fly around. Like, we want to keep it simple for them, maybe complex to what it looks like to other people when they're scouting us. But, for them, we want it to be simple so they can play fast. And just how they've picked up, how they've learned in the classroom, and then going out on the field and executing has been really good.
You mentioned talking with Coach Welch yesterday, and some of the familiar names are gone. I asked him, hey, what are some of the names we're going to get used to hearing? I'm going to ask you the same thing at Rock Island. Who are some guys that you're excited about seeing on the field that we're probably going to get used to talking about on Friday nights and Saturday mornings and throughout the week here on OTA? Who are some guys that have your eye early on?
Yeah, I think, a couple that really stuck out, Brock Carroll was a all-conference player last year. He'll play both offense and defense. Xavier McMeans is going to also be a junior. He's kind of a gadget type guy. We can kind of move him all over the place, and he's super smart and really picks up what we're trying to accomplish on offense. Ellis Schwartz at quarterback he's kind of one of those kids that I said is kind of really like risen as far as like a leadership standpoint, and just absorbing everything that we're throwing at him. Like quarterback's different. He's got to know, O-line's just got to know the O-line stuff. They don't necessarily have to worry about what, receivers are doing or anything like that. He's got to know all of it. And he's really brought in. And then, up front, we do have some guys returning up front. Brooklyn Rossler has been doing a really good job, kind of leading that group. Trevor Nunn is back as a senior. And then, really look for big things from Jameer McDaniel, both on the O-line and D-line. I think he's really going to catch some eyes as far as, his physical capabilities and what he can do. We have some comparisons that we've used with him, but, he's one like he really sticks out at practice. And when he gets into somebody, it's like, oh, he can play ball. But those are just a few names. I think there's a lot of guys who are really going to do well on Friday nights.
It's funny you might as well mention Bronx Rossler. You mentioned the two Rosslers already. It's amazing how good of kids they are despite their dad. You know what I mean? Like, despite Justin and that nonsense that he is, they've done a great job. Good kids there. I love Justin. Anthony Roome joining us here and off there with Matt Randazzo. We talked a little bit with Coach Welch yesterday when it comes to the new calendar. How do you guys look at the new calendar? Obviously, I don't want to say everything's new to you because you've done this, but new as a head coach. Has it been different? You guys start school today, so I don't know if it's that big of a deal because it used to be school was already going anyways. What's it like, I guess, personally for you? How are the kids? Are you talking much about it, or are you just hitting the ground running?
For us, we're really hitting the ground running. I think the only thing that we've kind of talked about as coaches was like, when like a Rock Island or United Township, we're on that year-round modified schedule. And I think we kind of talked about yesterday as coaches, normally like, hey, the kids come to school like today, and we kind of have that 3-day buffer to like, hey, get the kids acclimated to school, and then we'll start on Monday, and we were laughing because then we're like, kids and coaches get acclimated to school a little bit. But besides that, it's just like, honestly, I think it just adds more excitement to the first day of school, and just jumping into it and just saying, hey, school starts, football starts, let's go. And we're on a normal schedule with practices. We don't, I think some teams are going in the morning because they don't have school yet. So for us, it's just like, hey, we're just starting our routine now, and we'll take it and roll with it.
When you look at this Western Big Six, you're learning and getting everything situated at Rock Island, but you know plenty about the conference. You've been around the conference, and you're not old. Yep. You're not an old guy like me. When you look at this conference as a whole, you can handicap it if you want to, like Nick did yesterday, and go through whatever, or try to say something nice about everybody. But when you look at this, it's going to be a dogfight. The coaches are going to have their teams ready and prepared. Big picture for the Western Big Six, and what do you think of the conference?
Yeah, I think, Coach Welch kind of talked about it yesterday, but the thing I've been kind of telling people is that, I think because the returners coming back, I think, Moline has been a lot of preseason favorites as far as just because just what you look at on the roster, what they have coming back and the amount of experience, offense and defensive skill positions, and stuff like that. But I think the one thing with the Western Big Six this year is I think this might be the most competitive year in a while, just from top to bottom. You know, I think there will be nights where, you know, one team beats another, and then, you know, they maybe lose to a different team and that team beats them, you know, and it kind of rotates around, and, you know, who beats who. And, you know, I think this year, more important than any, there's not a single week where you're like, oh, this is, you know, if we just show up, it'll be fine type week. You know, I think every single week is a challenge, and that's why taking it the week by week, you know, I think Sterling, with the experience coming back, is going to be different than the last couple of years for them. You know, you keep going down. Geneseo's got guys coming back. Quincy's still got some of their guys coming back. I think Galesburg's going to take another jump this year, doing some good things. And, you know, UT is well coached. They got guys who know what they're doing and have been doing it for a while. You know, and having that experience piece on their staff will definitely help them as trying to get through the grind of the Western Big Six this year.
Absolutely. Canelan is first for you guys, a trip to Canelan. How much do you talk about that today? Is it like, hey, we're getting, not obviously it's not game week, but is it still just stacking today, and maybe talk about that first trip of the season? And obviously you have a couple non-conference games before you get into the heat of the Western Big Six. The start coming soon and earlier than ever, as we mentioned, August 21st. What do you know about Canelan, and how quickly do you start even talking about that name?
Yeah, you know, we talked about it in a staff meeting yesterday. You know, we'll use basically kind of the rest of this week to just keep working on ourselves. We're not really going to start preparing for Canelan, but, you know, when we get into next week, like, we're offensively, defensively, we're going to prepare for them. Like, we're going to take advantage and kind of treat it as an extra, you know, week, you know, maybe like a bye week type deal where we're getting ready for that first game. You know, obviously there's shouldn't say a lot of unknown, but some unknown, just because I know Canelan graduated some players from last year in some key positions. So a little bit of unknown as far as that goes. And, you know, because of the schedule moving up, they're not scrimmaging anybody. So, you know, that kind of takes any, you know, newspaper articles or guys like you doing a report on like what the scrimmage looked like. But, you know, I have a little familiarity with them because they've been really well coached for a long time. You know, they joined the conference when I was in high school when we created the Northern Illinois Big 12. And then same thing when I was coaching at Geneseo, they were still in our conference. Just really well coached, really fundamental team. You know, they've had success the last several years, but they're no joke as a program. So, you know, that's why we're going to kind of take the extra week to get ready to play them.
Anthony Roome joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Some dumb questions before I let you go. And I did a round of dumb questions with you last time when you got the job. I don't remember what I said, so I'm going to keep them more recent if I can. Has there been an welcome to head coaching moment yet? A goofy one. I mean, not just on the field itself, but has there been a moment where you're just like, oh, wow, like I'm a head coach now. I have to deal with these certain things already. Has there been a welcome to coaching moment like that?
You know, it's kind of funny because one of the assistant coaches brought it up, but, you know, the welcome to coaching moment, and everyone jokes about it, is make sure the players get their physicals in. You know, it goes around every fall. And, you know, our athletic trainer is sending me the list, and I'm like, yo, man, this is, welcome to head coaching. Like, this is, now I got to deal with this. It's been Welch or Morrissey or Coach Johnson, and it's like, going to be hunting down some players today.
If you had a foursome of golf with those guys you just mentioned, with guys you've coached for or played for, Coach Johnson, Coach Morrissey, Coach Welch, and yourself, who would be the best golfer in that foursome?
Man, I hate giving him credit, but I'd probably say Coach Welch. Oh. He's, you know, I've golfed with him too much, and, you know, when he's on, and, you know, but like he likes to say, like, if he gave me some of the handicap, you know, then I'd like to say, you know, maybe myself, but, you know, I don't know if he'd be that courteous because he does like to win. So
is he like, I can see him like having a good shot and making sure everybody knows that he had a good shot. Is that the type of golfer he seems to be?
He is when he has a good shot, but you should see his reaction when he has a bad shot too, because I think that's even funnier. He's he can beat himself up a little bit, and then it might be a downhill slope there for a couple holes, but then when he hits a good one, then he's back. Then he's good to go.
I like it. What's the funnest thing you did this summer outside of football?
Oh man,
was there any outside of football stuff?
Honestly, I would say the most. There was a lot of different things that did with family, but just for me, probably the most fun thing was my daughter showed her heifer at the Rock Island County Fair. So that was just kind of a little good getaway time. It's time that I get to spend with my dad and then seeing my daughter have fun with it, get up early, go take care of it, sit at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds in the heat. And, it stormed, one afternoon. So it was like, it kind of brought me back to my childhood and just seeing her enjoy it and have a great time. And she's starting to do a little bit more on her own. That was really fun, really cool for me.
If you weren't coaching and doing this right now, what would you be doing with your life?
Probably spending more time with my kids. That'd be a starter. But if I wasn't coaching, I've been into the strength conditioning stuff for a long time. So, I'd probably be doing something along those lines, traveling around to different colleges and finding different strength conditioning jobs, still just coaching, but not coaching, and just trying to stay around wherever I can help, the youth and do stuff like that. But I just really have always had a passion for that.
You should officiate or referee because your father-in-law is so bad at it and his crew are so bad that we need as many of those guys as possible because they're so bad. Did they mention how bad they were?
Oh, you know what?
Sergio is awful.
Every time I go watch a competition or whatever that he's umpiring, officiating, I question his calls all the time. I'm like, hey, I just hope you messed that up.
Oh, I love it.
And then he's always got a reasoning. He's always got a reasoning for why it was right.
They've never missed a call. And I joke because it's Kevin, Sergio, Don Umlin. They're all good friends. They've never missed a call. I'll ask Don after something. I'll say, hey, how was your night? Didn't hear any complaints. I'm like, well, you weren't listening because I guarantee you there were probably some complaints.
I tell Serge to put his earpiece in.
I love it.
You're getting that old.
Yeah, exactly. Last one, and not that it's a different Rock Island. Have you found anything? It doesn't have to be specific to Rock Island, but I'm a foodie. I asked Nick the same thing. Yep. You got a lovely wife, you got kids, you got to get away. What's the if you want to be unhealthy like me and to go eat? What's the best place to go eat? And then what's the fanciest if you're trying to get out of the doghouse with the missus and you got to take her out to dinner?
Yeah, that's tough. We actually went and tried the Rock Island Brewing Company down there, downtown Rock Island. Went with Ben Corlett. He coaches middle school wrestling, teaches, and I thought that was kind of a hidden gem. I was like, we walked in, there wasn't really busy, and I was like, hey, this is pretty good. Like, this is good stuff.
Have you done an Al's Burgers yet?
Oh yeah,
okay.
That was.
And that used to be a Rock Island thing because it opened in Rock Island. Now there's one in Moline as well, but that's what we were.
The original's best.
Yeah, I'm telling. I was out. I don't know if I went out to Pacific Northwest for vacation and In-N-Out. My kids wanted to go to In-N-Out, and it was fine. But it's not Al's Burgers. It's just not. All right. No. Well, you're getting me even more hungry. Hey, enjoy opening day. You got a lot more things to do that are more important than hanging out with me here in the morning. Appreciate it. I'll see you Sunday at the other bar. It is my birthday. Yep. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you come on Sunday. I don't know if you want a big gift, you want a small gift, whatever you want to do is fine.
You look good for 29.
Right. Gifts are some people say gifts aren't necessary. Gifts are necessary, everyone. If you're coming, no, I'm just kidding. And then we'll see you the following Sunday as well at the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet. They've changed venues there because Anthony Roome is one of the coaches and they expect bigger crowds. They moved moved to the much larger Stern Center just to accommodate Anthony Roome's fans. So tell Sergio I'm sorry. Do that for me right away, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks, buddy.
I can do that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, that is Anthony Roome, head coach over at Rock Island, and we continue to count down to kickoff. I know it's crazy because you're like, it's August 5th. We are really close, less than 3 weeks away. Come Friday, 2 weeks away from the start of the high school football season. Of course, we'll talk a ton about it right here on OTA. Coming up after the break, we're going to go. Anthony's a Geneseo guy. We're going to go to another Geneseo guy. Dan Pearson's coming along with our FCA Story of the Week. All that, much more on OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Update with Matt Randazzo here on a rainy, soggy Wednesday in the Quad Cities, and I think throughout the Midwest as well. So thank you guys for spending some of your Wednesday with us as we get you through Hump Day, get you closer to the weekend, and of course, football is on a lot of people's minds. If you're just joining us, we had Trent Condon on in the first segment talking about Iowa football. The conversation continues with quarterbacks, with Tony Diaz, a.k.a. the Boogeyman, how good he can be, that defense, especially the defensive line. So we'll be talking a lot of Iowa football. 1 month from today, the start of college football. Coming up tomorrow on the show, we're going to kind of take a look at Illinois football as well and talk a little bit more about David Merkovic and his injury and what it means to Illinois basketball. Again, sounds like he'll be back and ready to go at the start of the season, which is good news for Illinois basketball. That is for sure. Also, last segment we talked with and had a lot of fun with Anthony Roome, head football coach at Rock Island High School, as we continue our OTA football program, our football previews, each day we'll preview one, if not two teams from around the area. Tomorrow we're going to chat with Adam Height over at Davenport North. Excited about that as well. So a lot to get to, but the Western Big Six should be a fun, entertaining conference once again. Everybody's talking about that team in Moline and the Maroons, and they're very, very good. We'll have Mike Morrissey on the show either sometime later this week or next week to kind of talk about that as well. But some really good programs in the area and obviously a new era at Rock Island. I think Anthony Roome has hit the ground running when it comes to those things as well. Don't forget our View from the West kickoff party is coming our way this Sunday, August 9th, 4 to 6:30 at the Other Bar in Moline. Make sure you come down and join us. Godfather's Pizza, Snoop's Chips and Salsa, have a beverage or two, and listen to some high school football talk and check out others. And that's the beauty part about it. You can listen to the show, and if there's a coach on you want to hear about, and if not, you go and roam around and socialize as well. So we're really excited about Sunday as well. The following Sunday, August 16th, I'll be emceeing the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet. Get down to the Stern Center in Rock Island, new venue for the Western Big Six Coaches Banquet. We're excited about that as well. So 2 straight weekends of you guys having to put up with me, Western Big Six coaches, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll find out. For sure. So it is Wednesday, which means, of course, we get to talk about our FCA story of the week. Dan Pearson, a legend here in the Quad Cities, bringing us a great story every Wednesday. And tens of thousands of high school athletes and middle school athletes are looking back at a fruitful summer of FCA camps worldwide. Thousands of college athletes poured into them with strong leadership. FCA's Dan Pearson introduces us to a Bureau Valley High School graduate, Landon Holsing, and how he used camp to grow as a student athlete. Here is Dan Pearson and your FCA story of the week.
Huddle leaders are here to serve, make eternal impact. But Landon Holsing says serving can lead to inspiration.
Being a huddle leader, too, is a very different experience because we want to teach the kids as much as we can, but we also want to learn from the kids if we can, because people are in different paths spiritually. So I think you can learn something from everyone, so just always be listening.
Landon Holsing has accomplished the pinnacle in high school sports, a state championship. But after taking the gold in the discus, he says the sun came up for a new day.
Winning state was very cool. I remember like sitting there, I was super nervous. I was just praying to be calm, and then I really felt God, and yeah, that was very cool. But then the day after, I remember, like, it was still there, like it was still cool that I won, but I remember like that's it. Like this is over. Like it happened. It's over, and that high kind of wears off, and the high of Jesus doesn't.
Tri-State FCA camp coach Jason Marquis had a front row seat to Landon Holsing's high school career. Marquis is the head basketball coach at Bureau Valley High School.
If he's the all-time leader at Bureau Valley in rebounds, 1,000+ rebounds in a career. A kid, I don't think we've ever seen a kid a big like that have a motor like Landon does. So just a tremendous athlete. But I think the thing that stands out there is just a humble leader. When we talk about, Jesus came to serve, Landon's a kid that serves others.
Holsing will be a sophomore at Olivet Nazarene this fall, and he loves the symmetry between sports and committed faith in Jesus.
Some of the discipline of training and just being in the Word, I think a lot of that overlaps. I think if I spent as much time as I do training with God, I think like my perspective would change a ton. And that's something I would like to take from camp and kind of learn. And I know there's kids here who are better than me at that. And that's kind of the biggest thing I want to learn.
With the FCA Story of the Week, I'm Dan Pearson.
Thanks to Dan, Landon was an All-American at Sauk Valley Community College last year, and as Dan said, heading to Olivet Nazarene this year as a sophomore as well. So we appreciate Dan and his FCA Stories of the Week. You can check them out on WQED as well on Sundays and on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. So we appreciate Dan as always, and it's that time of year. You hear Dan Pearson's voice, you think, well, it's high school football time, and we've been talking a lot about that this week here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo as well. So we thank Dan as always, and we're really excited to be able to share his FCA Stories of the Week each and every week right here on Wednesdays on OTA. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to OTA here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities, Wednesday, August 5th. Thank you for watching and enjoying the show. We appreciate that. It's been a fun show here as we get through the week. Hump Day nearly done. Rainy Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. Supposed to rain some more this afternoon, some this evening. So it's a great chance to get caught up in the shows this week as well. If you missed things, on Monday we had Sky Docterman on. Great conversation with a doc about Iowa athletics, also Illinois football. He spent last Friday down at Illinois in Champaign and has great perspective on that as well. Also on Monday show, we had Nate Gilbreth talking about Assumption football, and then Greg Armstrong as we get ready for our big show coming up this Sunday as well. Yesterday, we had Luca Garza on the show. If you missed that, go check it out. Luca's got some camps coming up in the Quad Cities that are going to be, in the state of Iowa, central Iowa. They're going to be fantastic. Talked to him about his breakthrough season with Boston and everything else in between. Nick Welch from UT joined us yesterday, previewing those Panthers. And then, of course, Macy Beinborn as well, the new basketball coach at Bettendorf High School, just 25 years old. She's going to do a fantastic job over for the Bulldogs as well. We talked about it a little bit yesterday and today. The new coaches top 25 out in college football, and you kind of look at it, and you the big theme, I guess, early this season was the Big Ten and how good they are, especially at Big Ten Media Days, with the SEC trying to stake claim to being the best conference in college football. And you look at it, Big Ten has 1, 2, 6, I'm missing some as I go, 14, 16, 17, 19, 22, obviously. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 8 of the top 25 are from the Big Ten. Obviously, the SEC stakes claim to 3 and 4 and 8, 9, 10, 11. So a decent amount of the top 11 from the SEC, but I think the Big Ten is so top heavy this year with Ohio State and Oregon, and Indiana checks in at 6th, and they could be a top 5 team in the country easily again this year as well. So you see Iowa checking in at number 22. Illinois checked in at 29, so just outside that top 25 looking in, and they have some chances during the non-conference schedule, maybe a game against Duke to get some attention on them and move into that top 25 as they get ready for Big Ten play. But we talked about it with Trent Condon a little bit ago earlier in the show, but you look at Iowa and they go 3 straight games where it's at number 16, home against number 1, and at number 19. And it's a short week on the way out to number 19 as well for a Friday night game before the bye week. So a lot of focus is going to be on those 3 games. Obviously, Iowa has to take care of business the first 3 games of the season. Iowa State is coming to town. It's still a rivalry. We don't know what they're going to look like this year. We don't know what the Cyclones' new look will be like, but it is a rivalry game. But if they can learn a lot about themselves and get better those first 3 games, boy, 3, 4, and 5, or 4, 5, and 6 are going to be super important. You win one of those games, as Trent Condon talked about. If you win Michigan and you come back to Iowa City 4-0 with Ohio State coming to town, probably ranked number 1, boy, it just changes the way the season looks. So that Michigan game is going to be extremely interesting as well when it comes to what happens in the world of the Iowa Hawkeyes and the season of the Iowa Hawkeyes as well. So overall, when you look at that, not too much jumps out that's surprising. Ole Miss still in the top 10. LSU's fascinating, obviously, with their new head coach and a guy who knows how to produce quarterbacks and jumpstart offenses as well. So 17 in Penn State is intriguing to me because I think Matt Campbell's a really good head coach, and I think they had a lot of talent last year, didn't lose as much as people think, and obviously they brought a lot in from Iowa State. So my eye is on the Nittany Lions to be better than expected this year as well. But that's the coaches poll, the top 10 via USA Today. Of course, I remember the years when I was younger, it was the AP poll and the coaches poll were it. That was what everybody was talking about. Now they have so many polls when it comes to the Big Ten, and heck, in the NFL, it's tiers of quarterbacks and top linemen and those type of things. So so much to talk about in the world of sports as well. Have to wrap things up a little bit early today. Got some meetings this afternoon I got to get to. I want to welcome a new sponsor. You saw their promo. We talked about them earlier in this season, or earlier in the week. We saw the commercial. Black and Gold Shop, 3 great locations. One right here in the Quad Cities, one in Coralville, and then one in West Des Moines as well. They are fantastic. Anything you could possibly need when it comes to Iowa athletics and apparel, head there as well. And when you shop at the Black and Gold Shop, you directly enhance it, benefit the Iowa athletic program. So head there. So many great things. Great line, great brands as well. Nike, Champion, 47 brand, Under Armour, New Era, you name it, they have everything. I was over at the one on Kimberly Road in Davenport this past weekend, and it's, you name it, they have it. My kid, I had to drag him out of there. So a great new sponsor of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We're going to do a couple shows from over there at their location as well throughout the fall. So excited about that as well. If you're interested in sponsoring and partnering up with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, always welcoming that as well. So reach out to me as well. Thank you to Black and Gold Shop and all our fantastic sponsors for allowing me to do this goofy show every morning at 10 a.m. And most importantly, thank you guys for watching. We'll get out of here a little earlier on a Wednesday. We got a brand new episode of OTA coming up tomorrow. We will see you guys then.